recording. That was my first time recording a meeting with the new protocols where it tells everyone in that annoying voice that you're being recorded. Thanks, everyone. I see that everyone sort of is following the instructions I gave, which is to try to please keep yourself on mute while Michelle and Alex present. That just does help to sort of eliminate background noise and make sure that the presentation can go off. We've got a lot of people in the room. If you do have questions, please do utilize the chat. I'll kind of keep an eye on that. And what we'll do is do a Q&A after the presentation, and I'll keep a running list and then call on folks to unmute, and you can have a conversation with the presenters. And just as a reminder, this is being recorded. We like to make these, especially topics like this. It's important to have it as a lasting educational resource for RRCA members. So that's what's going to happen here. We are a couple minutes past 8 now, so I think it's time to start. I'm excited to introduce our two presenters, Michelle Truitt and Alejandro Gonzalez. They are members of the Utica Roadrunners Club, and Michelle is on the club's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and creates the club's monthly newsletter, Split Times. Alex is also a Utica Roadrunners board member as well and on the board. And he is the chair of the DEI committee and is involved in many other club activities and groups. And they are the co-creators of the Run Against Racism, which they will be discussing tonight. And I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. You know, first of all, this marks a year since we started doing these education sessions. And I'm glad that even as we're getting back to some more in-person gatherings, everyone finds some utility in being together and being able to talk about issues that impact clubs. And I'm particularly thankful to Michelle and Alex for talking about such an important topic. You know, this has been something that we've really focused on more in the last year, and it's overdue. We had a conversation at convention that was dedicated to DEI, the first one, and we want this to be evidence that it's an ongoing topic and an ongoing conversation, and something that we think is really valuable to the running community. So with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Alex and Michelle.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share the screen. Okay. All right, Alex, you ready, my friend?
I am ready.
All right.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Alex. I ran 1,000 miles in 2020, which is about 5K a day, as you guys may know.
Yeah. And I'm Michelle. I ran one marathon ever. I'll never run one again. I'm a one and done kind of girl. And I will also never run 1,000 miles in a year like Alex. So I give him lots of props. It was fun to watch him do it.
I am on the board for the Utica Roadrunners. We are the largest running club in central New York with over 700 members. We hold 4 signature races in the Utica area, which are Save Our Switchbacks, Summer Sizzle 5 miles, which is coming this Sunday, Skeleton Run 5K, and the all famous Falling Leaves 5K and 14K, which we have been doing for over 40 years, which is almost as long as the Boilermaker has existed. I don't know if you guys are aware of the Boilermaker, but the city hosts one of the largest 15K in the country, and it's amazing. So if you've never done it, please come and run it. It's fantastic. We also call it our Christmas in July. The whole town is really, really into it, and that's pretty much what it makes the city a big running city. So there's a lot of support from businesses, the community in general, and anytime, doesn't matter what kind of weather we have, you're gonna see people running. So again, Boilermaker, you gotta see it right in my hat. We also have a Boilermaker training program, which is pretty famous as well. And we do development runs at the Parkway, which gets people in excellent shape to run their best 5K and 15K Boilermaker race. We also provide student scholarships each year, and we have a special 1,000-mile challenge where we can earn the famous red jacket. This is our latest group shot of everybody. That's me right in the middle. I just got my jacket and I'm super proud of it. In 2020, after the pandemic hit, our club got really creative and we did some really fun virtual events that kept our members connected and active. We did the scavenger hunt, 5 after 5 challenge, which was a lot of fun too, and push yourself, which it was pretty much just giving people challenges day to day and just to keep people active and engaged. Uh, all of our signature races, which I told you earlier, they all went virtual, which we had to take a hit on them, but again, we compensated a lot with the virtual stuff.
Yep. And so then we were doing virtual. We were kind of shut in on ourselves. I think Alex was one of the only people I saw for quite a while there. I've been running with him all through the pandemic. And then, you know, the world was rocked with the pandemic, and then the world kind of blew up and was rocked again with George Floyd's death and Breonna Taylor's death. And then we found out about Ahmaud Arbery. And at this time too, I always get so emotional because it's just how it all started and how far that we've come with all of this. My son was in school in Philadelphia, and I did that like drive down, get in the car, come back. We don't know what's going on. We got to get you home. My son's biracial. He's a gymnast. When we came home, everything was shut down. So he took to running, and he was running all over our community. And then hearing about Ahmaud Arbery just added another layer of things that I needed to worry and think about and be afraid about for my son being out there in the world. And I think, you know, we had these conversations. Jim Mott, our board president, who is on with us tonight, and I don't even know how we got the phone call, and we got to talking about just what was going on in the world and what we could do. And he offered up, you know, we need to do something through the club. And I never thought that the club could be a platform for something where we could stand for social justice together. And he was really the catalyst to have this conversation and say, let's do something. And I say the 3 famous words, I'm like, count me in. And then my next few words, like, we got to get Alex on board here. So Alex and I have run together, and we have snowboarded together, sometimes in the same day for many years. And a lot of our conversations already revolve around social justice, racial equity, inclusion in our community. We get into a lot of stuff together. And we were just saying before you guys jumped on that, I was like, wow, I'm thinking through this presentation. I was like, I drag you into a lot of stuff, my friend, and vice versa. So we had done a really great short documentary called The Bench, where Alex took part. And we had, we're a large refugee resettlement community here in Utica. 20% of our population is foreign born. So we had a bench, and people met for the first time, and it showcased how important and easy it was to really find commonalities with people who are different than you. And then we also do a 10-week concert series we were just telling Andy about that'll be starting in a few weeks. And it's a all-inclusive, welcoming, diverse, awesome series. So Alex and I do a lot of stuff together, and we said, you know what, let's put together a virtual event, and let's really see what we can do here. So I had done this project 4 years prior. It's a large 80-foot mural that highlights the first 200 years of the city of Utica. And through this project, we did quite a bit of outreach into our Black community to find some of the history and include it on this project. So we had some things we knew already, some bios of people, some places. We were really active in abolitionist activity, as well as the Underground Railroad here in Utica. So lots of rich things to work with. And we started to kind of plot it onto a map in the city to see where these things, where they lied a little bit. And the next thing we did was outreach. So I want to take just a minute to talk about how important it is to talk about outreach when you're doing a project like this. I'm white, Alex is Hispanic. We're talking about doing something with the Black community. I've worked on relationships for a long time in the community, but still there is, it takes time, it takes trust, it takes love, and it takes a lot of time. So we took the time to reach out to people that we knew to say, you know what, is this even a good idea? How is it going to be received? How do you feel about it? What would you add to it? I kind of shared all of the tidbits of history and things that we had, and said, what are we missing here? What needs to be included? What would be the obvious thing to leave out? And I always go by the phrase, remember, what you do for me without me is not for me. So we made a point to do a lot of phone calls, and it was really nice because it was during the pandemic and we hadn't seen people. We didn't quite know where we were in the world. And it was great just to pick up the phone and check in on people and say, you know, how you doing? How's the kids? How's the family? How's mom? You know, how are you faring through this? And by the way, like, you know, we're really upset right alongside with you as to what is going on in the world right now. And we want to take some action. So please, let's talk about this and give us some feedback. So we did great. We also took outreach to the city, of course, and to get permissions. I don't really, sometimes I do projects and don't get the permission, just do it. And I'm like, the signs will come down, it'll be fine, you know, but the city is really supportive of a lot of the work that we did. So we just got the approval to make sure we could put the signs on different poles and things like that and in the right of ways. So, and then we just kind of rocked and rolled. And this was our final map. So I do just want to read real quick, excuse me for flipping back and forth. I want to read how we presented it to the community because I think it's important for you guys to hear how we did that. So we said education, relationship building, openness, and exploration of the communities around us can lead to understanding and to combat racism. The Utica Roadrunners have created a route throughout the heart of Utica for members and friends to run and walk at their leisure as a way to jointly take a stand against racism and injustice. Along the route, participants will learn about different places, people, and events that celebrate the rich history and contributions of Utica's Black community through temporary historic signage that will remain up for 3 weeks. While walking and running, we encourage participants to have meaningful conversations about race or discussions about recent events, or if they prefer, to run or walk solo in personal reflection or listen to a podcast or audiobook. We also hope they take in the beauty of our city as they explore places they may not have noticed before or visited. While paying homage to the local Black community, the route was also created to celebrate the Black lives recently lost throughout the country. So the numbers of this route were of utmost importance. So the entire route, if you ran it, was 8.5 miles. And of course, that was in remembrance of George Floyd for the amount of time an officer had his knee on his neck before he passed away. There were 27 stops along the route, and that was in remembrance of Breonna Taylor, who was killed right before her 27th birthday, which she should have seen. And Alex and I did guided runs each Sunday during the duration of the run to honor Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed on February 23rd, 2020, which was a Sunday. Alex, I'll turn it over to you.
Before I keep going with the 34 signs, I just wanted to say something really quick. We did all this runs every Sunday, and we weren't planning to it because I don't think Michelle and I were expecting that we were going to have a lot of people participating. We were kind of doing this for the club, but we wanted it to grow, and just the amount of people that showed up, it was so immense that we had to pretty much just show up every Sunday and do it with all these people. And it was exhausting because it will take us up to 3 hours to do it. So, but it was a lot of fun.
It was so hot.
It was so hot. And,
it was in July.
but just watching all these people truly interested and just really understanding and learning about their history and the Black history of the city was amazing. So it was definitely worth it, and I know we will do it again. So we had 34 signs. Altogether, we put all these 34 signs in 27 locations. They were made of coroplast, which is the same material that they use for political signs that you see on the side of the road. They were UV printed and weatherproof. We used metal stakes where we could, with permission, we either drill them in telephone poles or we will pull them on the grass or whatever we can place them. The signs feature historic places and events, people who shaped the city, people who are currently keeping moving forward, and we showcase restaurant owners, artists, churches, bands, nonprofits, community gardens, and the only Black female-owned radio station in New York State that is based in Utica, and just a lot more. There's just trying to find these little things that most of us didn't know, especially me. I didn't know half of them, and with Michelle's research, which just took us 2 hours to put all the signs up. They stayed up for close to 3 weeks, and we had we had we gave people the opportunity to run it virtually for 3 full weekends. So virtually, we just unofficially told people that they could come with us. You can see the 3 groups in there, which to me, that was a full success. You could see all these people that showed up that had nothing to do with anything, and they just wanted to learn. And a couple of them even came twice because they wanted to read the signs again. Uh, we printed maps. We gave people turn by turn directions. So we had different speeds people. We had people in bicycles too helping us. We had some of the places give us water. So I think it came out pretty good. We joined every group each Sunday to do the run, and some either walked it, run it, biked it, and some other people actually decided to do it during the week. Some of Michelle's coworkers actually did part of the route during lunch breaks, and other people just grabbed people and just told them about it, and they just started doing it on their own. It took us 3 hours to do the 8.5 miles, which it might seem a lot, but again, we were stopping, we were talking about it, uh, we were raising all the social issues and why we were doing this, and everybody was very engaged. Everybody was participating, and I think that was the push that made us do it every weekend, because we thought we were doing something good. And I mean, just look at the pictures. That's all for us.
So one of the great things that happened, and we were able to put it as our first stop on the run, we had some artists, and this is a project that I helped facilitate on the back end, and my son worked on. They just finished the Black Lives Matter mural in Kemble Park in our Cornhill area the week right before it started. These are the artists. There was 4 artists who didn't really know each other and a project manager. My son's the second one in from the left there. This was a beautiful community project. They each had their own style. They worked on all the creativity together. We had this great community event afterwards where it's like the whole mural is like a quilt, and we left the bottom couple rows for the community to come and contribute to the mural, which was fantastic. We had a great ribbon cutting, and then it turned into a dance floor. So right after this is actually the night that Alex and I'm like, all right, done with this one. Let's get in the car. And we ran around for a couple hours putting up our Run Against Racism signs. So this was a really nice, bright, fresh, new, timely piece. That was the very first stop. And this led us through Cornhill, which is only, it's kind of our inner city in Utica. It's only a block away from where we do so many of our runs. And it was really nice to get everybody in just a block over to explore a little bit. So I have some pictures here of the group running through it, which is, so what was really cool is this is on the 15K Boilermaker route, which Alex mentioned. So we have how many 16,000 people run it every July. This year it's going to be in October, and they make the turn right here at the light to go up into the golf course. So we do a lot of our training runs right here on this route. And there was a great piece of information we found through friends that there was a very important, prominent location that was a spot on the Underground Railroad, and it's on one of the holes of the golf course that's there now. So everybody really loved this one because they spend so much time on this route. And this is James Street, again, just a block in from where we run all the time. But this is a space that, you know, I think having the group runs made people feel comfortable, and we're really able to see it from a different vantage point. We have an MLK Park that I think every runner, that even Alex, right? Like, I didn't even know this existed. It's just, it's a couple blocks off of the main street, and it's a beautiful little park. So we were able to introduce people to pockets of the city that they just hadn't seen. And, you know, again, it took 3 hours because there was a lot of great information to read. We have a couple paragraphs on each of the signs that were all over the place, and lots of running through the heat. People who don't come to Utica to run a lot were really eager to come in, seeing community gardens, different spaces, Black-owned businesses. We have a great business. These guys were just so excited to take part. You can see their sign on the back. They mounted it, and it's permanent, and they still have it out. They make they fabricate food trucks all over the place. So right here in Utica. So we were able to really highlight so many great things. We have Black run nonprofits. This is Grady's Way for 15 to 18-year-old homeless young men that just had opened shortly before the pandemic hit. So they had volunteers out, and they had them with water for us one of the days. So I mean, everybody really got into it. These are some, this is a neighborhood that's one of the oldest in the city. And this is where we start our runs a lot, where it's got like the coffee shop and the farm to table restaurant now, and all of these things that we come for. But there was so much rich history right in this tiny little neighborhood. It was the most dense with signage. And they really, everybody who's just coming to get their coffee, now they have a bigger appreciation and more knowledge of the space that surrounds them here. And then what was really wonderful is the non-runners and friends that took part in this. So the top left here, that's the gentleman who owns the food truck business. And he used it as a great experience with his daughter, who was in high school, and they biked the whole route, and they got a chance to kind of talk through things together, which he was really, and he bought the swag too. Like, it's just fantastic. The upper right is Grady's Way. That's Grady. He's super tall. He's a great singer as well. And his band was also on a sign. And Janiqua there, she, I think, did it 3 or 4 times on her own and brought different people. I saw her walk in this route all the time. A friend in the lower left came in from Schenectady, right outside of Albany. We had families like doing it on their own biking. So it was great to watch the social media and see people tagging us and what they learned out of it. The swag, I know Jim's got his on tonight. That's again my son there, and he's a graphic design student at Temple. So he kind of did this on his own. He was real quiet in his room one night and came out and showed me his computer. He's like, "What do you think about this?" So he kind of started a line of clothes, and we used that logo for it, which was pretty cool and nice to bring him in. So all in all, we ran it for 19 days. There was 136 signups, which was one of the most popular virtual events that we did at the time. And we raised $1,500, and there was no fee to do this. It was just a suggested donation. And I think that was the second most we raised out of an event in 2020, which was nice.
I wanted to touch a little bit more with the swag and everything. You can see the shirts. We also made, we gave the chance to people to order their own shirts when they were registering. And we used Michelle's son design with the Utica Runners logo, which I was very proud to see the Black Lives Matter and the Utica Runners at the bottom, which it was great. And then we got this, the shirts. I will always wear black. There you go, because that's my color. But this is my favorite shirt ever. And Jim, you can see Jim wearing one of them, which were pretty popular. And it was so great just to see people just supporting the cause. This was for nothing other than just helping. So now we're going to touch into this. With the money raised, we created prizes for select runners and walkers. If they posted photos, their reflections, if they supported in the Facebook group, they were eligible. And so we purchased gift cards from Black-owned restaurants and businesses in the city. We also purchased some haircuts from one of the long-standing barber shops in the city, which was one of the stops on the route. And we donated them to the Junior Frontiers, which it was a group that was able to identify students that needed them and pass it along. So we took like a group of like 5 haircuts, and we gave that award to one of the members that ran it and said, "These 5 haircuts are going to these kids on your name," which they loved it. We had all kinds of feedback, mostly positive. As you can tell, we had a lot of people just loving the runs and learning about the city. One thing that I wanted to point out too is like, we started on a very common area where we always run, and people, even though they looked at the map, they didn't know what we were getting into. So we ended up running through these areas of the city that you will not normally go, right? So we took all these runners into these areas that in the beginning they were looking around, they're like, is it okay to run in here? And that was the whole point of it too, not just to teach them history, but it's okay to go to all these parts of the city. Again, people were just so excited to see these parts of the city and keep running through them and make the city whole, not just be like, oh, this, we don't run through this, we don't go to this neighborhood, we don't do this. Everybody just loved it. And again, a lot of great support from all the runners and not runners as well. All the signs stayed up for the 3 weeks. Nobody touched them. Nobody tried to steal them or deface them. which we were pretty proud and we were expecting to see a sign. So I was going during the week, just checking. Nobody did anything, which was good. We ended up extending it for an extra week because people keep asking, please just leave him. I can do it until next week. So we ended up just doing that. From that, we created this DI committee, which David Jones, which is here, and Jim Mott, which is our president, he is part of it as well. We created this group, and I was actually talking to Michelle last night about just our committee, and it's the most active committee this club has right now. We, from day one, we haven't stopped, and I'm so happy that this is the case. We always have something to do, and we always have something to work towards. What we live in right now, it's something that we just need to keep working on. I mean, we're still planning. We're still planning on the run against racism on for this year. We have a couple of things going on. We have Juneteenth coming up, and the club is gonna be part of it. And again, this year just it was it sounds cliche, but it was a blessing in disguise, because it just helped us see what we needed to do, and just racially, especially with the club, and just to help understand. We got some bad feedback as well, and I didn't want to leave that out. We got some members that did not approve or didn't like it, and they sent a couple of emails not really liking it, but we kept going, and we really didn't lose any members. We didn't do anything, and when we brought it up to the president, he just said, I don't care, this is the right thing to do, and I'm so sorry if they don't like it. This is what it's right for the club, and we need to move in the right direction. So we have a lot going on with the DI committee, and we're going nowhere. So I'm just very, very proud that we're doing this.
Great leadership leads to great things.
Yep.
And, I've been asked a million times, are we doing this again? Because either they missed it or they want to see it and do it again. What's next with us? Again, Alex said we got the DEI committee together right after this and really dove in. So in February, we had a wonderful event for Black History, where we had local students that we were able to reach out to that did presentations celebrating some of the greatest Black runners, track stars, marathoners, ultra athletes. So these were the youngsters that we got in, and they each were assigned a Black athlete and did research, or we helped them out a little bit, and they jumped on, and it was an educational opportunity. It was a really great chance to partner with the Junior Frontiers, the Young Entrepreneurs, all these other programs that do wonderful things in our community with kids of color. So we hope to do that again. I threw out to Andy before we started that maybe we can do something like kind of across the country and have one big event where we have kids from all over do it. So maybe we'll think about that. We also this wasn't a club thing, but Alex and I got a good group of people together. We've been trying to just kind of continue the runs and the conversations and the outreach. So we did a BLM run through Cornhill, mess up the bottom of the B though. And I got to do a redemption run this summer. We're going to do that one again, but that was fun. And then we also, on the 1-year anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery's death, we got together on February 23rd, and we did a 2.23 mile run right through the heart of Cornhill in the evening. It was very nice and cold, but we got some of those folks that one of the artists from the Black Lives Matter mural and the young lady in purple who led quite a few different runs on the run against racism. So there's little things that we're continuing to do throughout the year to keep this going. We just started the UROR program as well. It's Organizational Associates Racers. So this is going to be for reaching out to organizations that serve young kids of color to get them interested in running, and to offer up a group membership to the Utica Roadrunners for that organization. And they can identify kids that would like running, and they can come for our training programs and also for mentorship. And we can tackle a good new relationship that way. So that is just starting up. And then, like Alex mentioned, on Saturday, we're going to be at the Juneteenth celebration here in Utica. And what we didn't realize is that when we have these 34 signs, we have an asset and we have all of this great history that we're able to share. So we're going to take these out, and the founder of the Juneteenth celebration really wants to celebrate fellowship and Black-owned businesses. Great food, great music is going to be out there, but she also really emphasizes culture and history. So this is going to be an asset for them to have these all throughout the park, to work people through the areas as they're visiting vendors and to learn. And then we also talked about having at our table some small sheets that people can fill out, because there's more history that we don't know. A lot of the history in our Black community is oral history. So one of the pieces of feedback we got from one of the runners during one of our summer runs was, there's really nothing that I see that's in like the 60s and 70s. It kind of jumps from the 50s up to like, the 1990s, and we're missing that part of it. Which is true, because a lot of it is oral history. Some of the businesses that were there have been long gone. So we're going to talk with people this Saturday at our table and get some numbers and emails, build more relationships, build more trust within the community, and expand the number of signs that will be out for the run this year. So Run Against Racism 2021. We are planning, we're going to have multiple route options. That was one piece of feedback. The 8.5 miles is very long. And there's one stretch in particular that doesn't have a lot of signs on it that you have to just truck across town. So people were reaching out to us to say like, hey, is there just a 2 mile or a 5K? And where can I go where I can see the most signs? So we are breaking out, our committee members did a wonderful job, and they probably have at least a dozen different routes that we're going to work through and give people some options. We're also talking with the Roman Runners. Our sister city is Rome, New York, which is about 15-20 minutes away. And we have a great contact there who's a historian and just a lover of community and culture as well. And we're seeing if we can put maybe a 5K together up there and expand it to different, to another running group. Eventually, we'd love to do it, spread it throughout upstate New York, and some of us can kind of like, trek across the thruway and go see some different cities, and we can learn about different pieces of Black history throughout upstate, which is wonderful. And then just increasing the signage with community input, because again, doing something for me without me is not for me. So we want to get as much input from the community as we can. So we have, if you'd like to look at the signs, we do have everything downloadable as a PDF on uticaroadrunners.org. If you go under races, the Run Against Racism is right there. And if you'd like to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, you can see what we're going to be up to this summer with the Run Against Racism 2021.
I just posted, Michelle, I just want to let everybody know, I posted the direct link to the Run Against Racism link. So you will see all the signs. If you want to do it, you can download them all. You can see the route, you can see everything about it. So link is right there. If you guys want to check it out, if you want to download it, it's there.
All right. So Andy, thank you. And thank everyone who logged on. I'll stop sharing so we can chat and field any questions.
Yeah, thank you both so much. So I think I have a hunch. I've now seen this wonderful presentation twice. I was lucky enough to be there when Alex and Michelle gave it to the New York RRCA members. And if you're like me, you're sort of taking this all in because it's a really powerful story and a lot to sort of digest. So I will remind anyone that if you have questions, do type them into the chat. But just having seen this, I was wondering, is there like one major piece of advice that this all seems so wonderful and in depth and thorough, but if a club is looking to get started on taking on something along these lines that you would say in your experience, what would that be?
It's tough. It took a lot of research, and luckily for us, we had some of that work done already and some institutional knowledge and some really good resources. But if you were going to start this from scratch, I would say history centers, or if you have one of those in your community, chambers of commerce sometimes are helpful as well. But go to also the leaders in the community that you want to highlight. So if it's the Black community, go and talk to some people, and not just like one person, many people, because there's many different perspectives and many different stories, and everyone has different pieces of information. So it's that's the fun part to me. And that's when we talk about reflections of this event, that was one thing where it it really tightened a lot of relationships I had started already, but it introduced me to new people. Like every time I turn around with one of these projects, we're meeting some new people that I didn't know about that are doing wonderful things in the community. So you kind of, you expand your circle. So it takes time. I guess another piece of advice would be to start small. So if you can only come up with, and that's what we're going to experiment with the Roman runners this year. If he can come up with like 5 things or 10 things that we can do signs for that covers only like 2 miles or a 5K, let's start there. And then they can do the same thing and expand as they build the relationships over the years.
Yeah. And if anyone, my advice from my point of view, because Michelle did most of this, she did all of this research, but what I got from this whole experience is don't be afraid to be bold about these statements. In the beginning, Michelle and I were a little hesitant and we didn't know how the club was going to take it, but we just discovered that people are very open to this and people are ready for this and they're ready for change. And if you don't think your club is going to take it right, just think twice and just take them into these neighborhoods, make them run through them, and you'll be surprised. Like we have been. We've taken all these people that they don't even drive through these neighborhoods, and then we take them to runs, and they love it. And I think you got to do it.
Just to add to what Michelle said, if you want to get into the knowledge of history of any Black neighborhood, go to any well-established Black barbershop. That's sort of a history center.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what Dave said, that I think it needs to be said, and I didn't know about this, Dave, until now. Dave commented the predominantly, sorry, I can never say that word, wide Rotary Club of Utica participated in walking 2 miles of this course. Many had never walked through these neighborhoods before. All were very impressed. So again, this is what it's all about, just getting people to these places, to these neighborhoods, to understand that these are not prohibited places in your city. And I think that's where understanding starts. You gonna walk, you gotta say hi to all those people, you gotta just be part of your city.
Yeah. There's a question about how many people did the work and how many hours did it take? What was the budget?
That's
Yeah, Michelle Wolpert, thank you. Yeah.
If I could find out while we talk here, I keep my hours like a lawyer. I'm actually a graphic designer. So it was something that was in my wheelhouse. This is something I can kind of, pump through really quick and do, but it took a multitude of hours. I have to look back, but it was a lot of work, and I'm kind of glad they're done and we kept them. We went and collected them and cleaned them up so we don't have to do them again. The budget was very slim because I volunteered the design time, but I think, I can't remember, Jim. I don't know if you remember, but we raised $1,500 and that paid for the signage. It allowed us to purchase the gift cards as prizes and support Black-owned businesses. And we also had some excess as well. So I would say it was maybe under $500 for the signs, and those were stakes included. The hours, I would guess maybe 50 hours.
The rest, we had volunteers helping us here and there. So which if you have a club and you have volunteers, I'm sure you can get away with a lot of volunteer hours, which we had people helping us, staying with the slower runners, the faster runners, and trying to just keep people together, making sure that we weren't having any incidents or people were staying hydrated and stuff like that. So
yeah, and it's a good thing to divvy up too. Again, if you were to start one of these races and you had 10 signs, you could get, if you had 5 people that could each take ownership of 2 of them, and that would be identifying who to talk with, interviewing people if necessary, doing the research, doing the write-up, and then getting imagery together. That's not a lot of work. What's that? Many hands make light load. So if you have those means, that's super helpful too. There's another question about, can you explain the virtual experience a bit more? So it was just like our other virtual events where we had a run sign up, and then you can do it whenever you wanted. I think that's the definition of virtual that we were using. So if somebody had a Monday off, they could go run it on a Monday. If they wanted to get together with 2 or 3 people on a Friday and do it, or if they wanted to join the larger group, if they were comfortable doing so, again, during the summertime, it was like a height of the pandemic. If they were comfortable joining in the larger group, they could do that as well. So we started a Facebook event that was kind of the landing ground for any photos and messages that we needed to put out. So we encourage people to take pictures and put reflections and feedback on that Facebook group. And that's how Alex was the one who would monitor that and really pick people who were, you know, putting some good information in there, really taking advantage of the run, and he would hand out prizes. Alex likes handing out prizes.
Yes, I do. And
Like
part of the virtual, what we did virtual, it's because we couldn't just go out and say, oh, we're gonna do these runs on these days, because we couldn't make it official. So we named it as a virtual event, but we were still doing the runs on the weekends, and we will let people know. But we said, this is not official. As Michelle and I were going to do it. If you guys want to join us, we'll go with you guys. So that was mostly the part of the virtual. But again, it gave the chance to a lot more people to do it on their own time. And we encourage people to do, like Michelle said, just the shorter walk, runs, in a bicycle, or whichever way you wanted to do it, just as long as you saw the sign. So
Jim, did you have a response to chime in on as well? Yeah.
Yeah, first off, I'm like the proud parent of watching these two. It's so good when you believe in something and you're passionate about something, and that you can pass it on to 2 great people like Michelle and Alex. And believe me, they're involved in so many other things that the way that they present this, it might seem like this might be their only thing, but they have so many other things that they're working on. And like Michelle, I'm sure she's got like 5 other projects she's got to do tonight. But I can't thank them enough for carrying through a vision that just came through a conversation. And just in response to the question about the diversity committee and adding the hashtag, I think that's a great hashtag. Don't change it. And as far as the Black community embracing it, good. That's what should be happening. The Black community should be embracing it, and for the 2 people that aren't embracing it, good riddance, get rid of them. It's gone on too long that we've been worrying about those 2 people that were offending. And we've got so many people on the outskirts that we need to embrace. And more, that's why I really encourage them, don't stop with the virtual event. We need to keep going. And this DEI committee that they're working on is just amazing and fantastic. So just change hashtag, be bold, like Alex is saying, and your vision, see it through, and it's going to be well worth it. And I'm just so happy that a year later we're at this point that we're talking about this in a bigger context. I'm just so proud of them. So I just wanted to throw that in there. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Jim. I wanted to thank Jim again, and you can tell he has a very strong position on this, and that's what it really pushes to do it. Michelle and I have been talking this for as many years as we know each other, but it never came to us that we should have done it as a club. I think you and your leadership and your club, you need to just be strong and we like this. I love that. All paces, all races. I want to steal that. It's very cool. I love it. And if you have a couple of people that don't like it, it's your club. I can make decisions for your club, but we know, you already heard from our president. We know what he will do, and that's what he does. When people come and complain to him, he tells them, if you don't like it, you can just leave. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do this work in this space and you want to be effective at it, you have to commit to it.
Yep.
And there's going to be uncomfortable conversations in that. There's going to be there's been some friends that I have called out on things from doing this work this year. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And sometimes the friendships are ruffled a little bit, but if, to do what's right it takes, like I said before, trust, time, love, commitment, longevity, all of that stuff. We're not going to stop doing this work. And even if, Jim, I hope you stick around as president for a long time, because your
Yes.
leadership is great and you believe in this. Like, there will be another president at some point and they might undo all this stuff,
Yep.
like, we'll do it elsewhere. Alex, we'll take it to a different running club. We'll start our own running club.
We'll start a running club.
Our hashtag will be all paces, all races.
Yeah, there you go. There's another question. Do you receive any drawback from the local running community other than running clubs? Michelle?
Not that I heard, not that
Nope.
anybody told me, but you know what? They're not going to tell me all the time.
No. And we did have a few conversation with people, and I had people talking to me before they even knew I was part of the committee, just telling me like, oh, why is the club getting involved with this? We shouldn't be getting into this. And I'm like, why not? Oh, because we're not a political club. I was like, this is not political. This is social. And we have a wide club. It's mostly white people. I'm one of, there's only another Hispanic guy, and I run with another black guy, and we are 700 people registered. So there's something to do. There's a reason to exist. Another thing that happened, and I wanted to share with everyone, and it just happened this week. We've been looking for volunteers for the Juneteenth event, and I got a few volunteers, and I tapped into some of the volunteers that I worked with before, and everybody was cool. And one lady, one member of the club, she's been in the club for a long time. She's been part of a lot of different things, and out of nowhere, she sent a message and she said, I can be at the Juneteenth. And we asked why, and she was like, that's a neighborhood my parents told me never to go to, and I'm not going to start now. So I was talking with another DI member, and she told me, she was like, this is the whole reason why we have a DI committee, because we need to take this mentality out of people, and this I'm sorry, but it's this stupidity, and just get it over with and share and just be part of your city, part of everything. There's no barriers in our city. There's no borders. We need to be out there. We all need to be sharing. And this is a public park. It's not even a bad part of the city, but she has it on her mind that she shouldn't be there because she has different skin colors. So
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
yep.
Yeah.
I must add that this club has come a long way. When I joined the club in the 80s, it's predominantly white male, and it was sexist and racist comments was just a way of running with people. But I'm so proud, and that's why I remained the club, even though I haven't run in 20 years due to injuries. But I'm so proud to be a part of this club because it has come in this direction. So thanks for our leadership.
Yeah, no, and thank you, Dave. Dave is part of our DI committee as well, and he just brings all this experience and all these things that when we're trying to make a decision, we look at him because he personally knows all this, and he comes out with these great ideas that we are implementing in our committee, and that's why it works. We have a variety of people in the board and this small committee doing really great things, and I think that's how it should be.
I think all of the beeping in the cars while we were running through these neighborhoods, and the shout outs out the window, all of that erased in my mind the minimal negative feedback that we got on doing this whole thing. It was just from the people that I talked with afterwards, it was appreciated. It was remembered. They're asking for it again. I think we're going to be able to come back this year and really expand it, build relationships more, and again, we just have to keep doing the work.
Yep. Oh, and you said that was the drawback I received as an African American. I was told it was political. Yeah, and you're not the only one. It comes every time. People think it's political. People think that the Black Lives Matter is political. And you know what? We might not change their minds, but we need to keep at it, and we need to keep making people understand that this is not political. This is social. This is
Jim,
an everyday.
Jim, show them how small the Roadrunners logo is on that shirt.
Yeah.
Just because that logo was on the Black Lives Matter, it was deemed as political. And
Yeah.
that was probably the one thing, that shirt in particular, because we offered it through the online store, would,
Yeah.
you didn't have to buy it. And we offered these, the Run Against Racism, and we did the Black Lives Matter. You didn't have to buy anything. You didn't have to donate anything. You didn't have to take part. That's the thing too. Like, it's
Yeah.
there for you if you want it. If
Yeah.
you want to educate yourself, if you want to be part, if you have curiosity, I think everybody, speaking as a white woman, and just seeing a lot of my peers, and, a lot of people were, what can I do? What do I do? Do I read this book, or do I whatever? I'm like, you know what? Screw the book. I'm like, read the book, but come out and walk with me and learn some stuff and have diverse experiences. That is what's going to help you. Buy the shirt. Even if you just wear it in your house for you, and that's all you can do right now, wear the shirt, read the book, do the walk, do the work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
When we started this, Michelle and Alex are wearing the safe shirt, so to speak. And when Michelle's son created this design, I said that the UR logo has to go with this. And we can't take the safe route. We have to be bold. We have to make a statement. And this is not a political statement. It's a social statement. And the things like that Dave said he was hearing over the decades when he was a member, people didn't apologize for the things that they were saying and the way that they were acting. So that's why it's important that we be bold and we make statements that need to be heard and need to be read and said. So that's why I wanted to really make sure that we had this shirt too.
It's possible. Everybody, if you guys want to implement this on your club, it's very possible. Just keep pushing through it. You're going to get resistance, but if you have support from the top tiers in your club, that's what it matters. If your president is on board and he wants to support you, go for it. And if you don't, it might be time to look for another club. That's how I see it.
Partnerships are great too. If you have a local Black Lives Matter chapter, NAACP, we have a couple groups that we brought in with the kids. Do it together and take equal billing for it. That is really important as well. And learning to work with people who are different from you. This is a great way to start doing something like that. I was curious if you guys could throw in like where you're all from in the chat. I know everybody's all over the country.
And I would say too, if anybody wants to unmute at this point, it's a small group, and this is powerful conversation, and it might be beneficial.
Oh my God.
Oh wow, look at this. I thought everybody was like close by. That's just awesome. Wow.
I will say too, I want
to all right.
Talking about support and partners. I mentioned at the beginning that RRCA as a national organization is sort of trying to make up a little bit for lost time in the last year and recognizes the importance of these issues, and that we want to be a resource to clubs that are going through this. We have connections to the industry as a whole. If you're looking for speakers, perhaps, we have connections. That's a good, maybe first easy activity that you can do. Also to be a conduit between clubs that are looking to dialogue. This is sort of a weird analogy, but, as clubs were dealing with COVID and figuring out how to wrangle the new safety plans and group running, we were able to build connections and figure out and put in touch groups that were looking to sort of get back to that with other ones. And I think that we can do something similar as clubs and events look to improve their DEI. So I'll throw my email in the chat, but we want to be partners and we want to support you in these kinds of processes and journeys.
And our DEI committee, it's more than happy to help you guys. If any of you want to contact us and want any information on what we're doing, or if you want us to talk into anything, Michelle and I are super happy to come and share our experience and try to get this bigger. This is not about our city or our club. This is a humanity thing. So we want to do it for just everybody. And if you guys want to do it in Seattle or Philly or Houston, we're more than happy just to help. We don't care where you are. We just want to help.
I'm in Philly a lot. I love that somebody's saying, "Oh my God, Utica!" Like no, nobody knows it. We were like featured in a couple episodes of Orange Is the New Black and a couple episodes of The Office. Like that's our claim to fame. So, we hear people know Utica, we're like, yes.
Yeah. That's why I'm trying to push the Boilermaker. If you want a good 15K, come to the Boilermaker.
Yes. Wonderful.
Any final questions, final thoughts from our wonderful presenters?
Yes, definitely. Andy, thank you for having us, man. This was great.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. I hope everybody else got as much out of this as I did. And the conversation continues, I think is what I would say. So thank you to Michelle and to Alex so much for sharing this great story, and to everybody that participated and contributed to a really meaningful conversation afterwards. And looking forward to working with you all going forward.
Thank you. I'm sure our paths will cross soon.
Yes.
Any of those fine cities I would really like to visit.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Yeah.